I've spent a ridiculous amount of money creating this, my Honda Jazz Type R.
Oh my God, I'm just playing with them now, yeah.
So I think we can all agree the Jazz is looking sensational from the exterior. But the inside of this car is not looking so good because, as you can see, there's nothing in here. Over the past few months, this Honda Jazz has been the most challenging project I've ever undertaken. That should be starting, no? I began this process with the hopes of one day turning this car into what I thought a Honda Jazz Type R would have looked like from the factory if Honda had ever made one. And since starting this, we've installed a 200 horsepower Type R engine, a load of Type R style modifications, and me and my friend Lav cut absolutely no corners when giving this car a championship white paint job. But since doing that paint job and stripping absolutely everything off the car, the interior of the Jazz has remained looking like this. So I've spent £3,000 on a new interior because my goal in this video is to make the inside of this car truly Type R spec. Now, before we get into completely transforming that interior, there are a couple of things a lot of you commented in the previous videos that we need to address. So the main thing a few of you pointed out was that the white wheels I've got on the car don't color match the championship white very well, and I completely agree. So the first thing we're going to do is to take these wheels off and get them repainted. Another tiny detail that was really annoying me is that we just forgot to paint the rear caliper carriers in red. So I also wanted to take these off and get those repainted as well. So I quickly got all of this stuff packed into the Daily Driver and took it to 360 Alloys. These guys are absolute wizards with wheel refurbishments and bodywork. So if you need that sort of thing, I'll leave a link to them in the description, and we will find out what the caliper carriers and the wheels look like later on in the video. So now the wheels and the caliper carriers are off and getting painted, we can move on to a few more jobs that we need to get on with before we address the interior. The first thing I think we're going to address is the fact that our beautiful sunroof doesn't work currently because, as you can see, you can hear the clicks. I think the relay works, but the sunroof is not working, and I think the culprit is this motor here. So I'm going to change this and see if that sorts it. Right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment of truth. Great. That didn't work. All right, gonna have to think of a plan B for that. All right, so honestly, I'm not really sure what the problem is with the sunroof. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research and then come back to that before I fit in the new headliner. But for now, there is one more job we need to get on with before we start working on the interior, and that is to change the engine mounts. Now, in any internal combustion vehicle, there will be mounts connecting the engine to the chassis of the car. And these engine mounts are generally comprised of metal and, most importantly, rubber. Now, the main job of the rubber is to absorb the vibrations from the engine, and it does this by allowing a tiny bit of movement. Now, manufacturers will actually tailor a set of engine mounts for each type of car and its engine. For example, a car with a heavy engine will have sturdier rubber engine mounts than a car with a smaller, lighter engine. Now, of course, when Honda made the Jazz with an 85 kilogram 1.3 litre engine, they obviously did not make mounts suitable for a K20, which weighs almost twice that. So every time I've driven the Jazz, the engine has been moving about far too much, crashing into the chassis legs, making awful noises, and hindering the car's drivability. And when I drag raced the Jazz in a previous video, I definitely think I did some serious damage to an engine mount, so it's about time we get this fixed. Now, essentially, the engine mounts that we're using in this setup are still the standard engine mounts, and these are designed for a much lighter engine than this K20, and as a result of that, this engine is moving around loads in the engine bay, especially when we're going around corners. It's crashing into chassis legs and causing us problems. So, to fix this, I have bought these hard race engine mounts, which are much beefier and stronger, and they will support the engine properly. So let's get these fitted. Now, on the Honda Jazz, there are 3 engine mounts, and the first one I'm going to change is the one that sits on the subframe, so I've got to get the car up on the ramp and remove it from there. So there are 3 17mm bolts on the gearbox I've got to undo, and then there are 3 14mm bolts on the subframe. The bolts here are in really annoying places, so it's just about picking the right tool and staying persistent. Once I'd got the engine mount on the ground, I could then swap it over with the new hard race one. Once that was done, I could then get it all refitted. So now that that engine mount was installed, I could then get the car back on the ground and start changing the ones that I could access from the top. Before starting though, I made sure to get a jack underneath the engine with a block of wood just to support it. So once that was done, I firstly had to remove the battery because the second engine mount sits just underneath it. So I started by undoing all of the bolts and getting it loose. I did have to get the air saw out to cut one of the bolts because we were having a slight issue with removing it. So once the mount was out, I could then again replace the old engine mount with the new hard race engine mount. And after that was done, I could get the engine mount refitted. So after finishing with the gearbox engine mount, I could then move on to the final mount, which sits on the driver's side chassis leg. And as you're going to see, this is the engine mount that was causing all of our problems. So after taking out the driver's side engine mount, you can see there's like a fair bit of messy liquid all over this area. And I didn't know what that was originally, but I can now confirm it is coming from this engine mount, which, as you can see, has seen better days. This was probably the reason why the engine was moving about so much in the engine bay. So now we have this engine mount to upgrade it. This should definitely sort it. So before getting in the new mount, I decided to give the area a little bit of a clean as best as I could. And once it was looking more presentable, I could then get the new hard race mount fitted. Another small thing I did was I painted the battery tray black because it was still silver. And once I got the battery refitted, I think this was looking a lot better. So we are now at the point where all of the engine mounts have been fitted and they are going to make a huge difference to the drivability of this car, and I now cannot wait to drive it. We've also obviously got the battery back in with the black tray, which I think looks way better. But now that is done, we can move on to the reason why you all clicked on this video, and that is getting this interior sorted. So this is all of the stuff we've got for the Jazz. Some of it you've seen before and some of it you haven't. Firstly, the rear bench. You've seen this in a previous video. We had it reupholstered by my friend in Nottingham with this awesome sort of Type R red and black. We've also got the door cards, again, reupholstered in the same red Alcantara, red and black theme. Also, you have seen these seats before, but they have been completely reupholstered now, newly reupholstered in this red to match the bench and the door cards. Another thing you've not seen is this. This is very rare. It's a piece off a JDM car, and what makes it so rare is the fact that it has an armrest. The standard Jazz center consoles don't have this, and it slides, which I think is really cool. And another really cool feature, comes with double cup holders for the people who want to sit in the back. This is really cool, but as you can see, it is the wrong color, but we have had the top bit reupholstered. And finally, the custom mats. These are custom-made Jazz mats with Type R embroidered in there. So we've gone to town on this interior. It's been very expensive, but we're gonna see what it looks like when we get it in the car. But firstly, we have a bit of dyeing, flocking, and painting to get on with. So a few of you might remember from the paint job video that we had to remove the headliner, which is this gray beige color. So because we're going for a black and red interior, the first thing I wanted to do was to get this dyed black.
I've always dirtied everything that I found. This ain't no difference, so look at you now.
And whilst the headliner was drying after the first coat of dye, we could also dye the carpet black. But before actually applying the dye to the carpet, I firstly had to go over it with the Hoover. Once the carpet was clean, me and Lav could spray on the dye.
There ain't no satisfaction for me now. There ain't no satisfaction for me now.
And whilst the carpet was drying, we could then apply the second coat of dye to the headliner.
Satisfaction for me now. Bring satisfaction for me now.
And then we could do the second coat for the carpet. And just a quick reminder to subscribe if you haven't already. We've got a load more exciting videos I know you won't want to miss, and we are so close to 100,000 subscribers. So the headliner and the carpet both look amazing now they've been dyed, but now we can move on to something called flocking. Now, if you don't know what flocking is, you are in the majority. I had no idea what it was before this video, but essentially, apparently, it's a way to turn our grey interior trim pieces black. Now, I've never done this before, so it could either go really well or terribly bad. Let me explain quickly how it works. So the first step with flocking is to pour the hardener, the epoxy, and the dye into a bowl. Once that's all in there, you mix it all up, add a bit of acetone, and that is your adhesive. You then apply that adhesive using a paintbrush onto whatever it is you want to flock. Once that's done, you can get out your flocking fibers, put those into the application tool, which gives all of the fibers an electrostatic charge. You can then turn it on and then start shaking all of the fibers over the piece you've just put the adhesive on. And what this is supposed to do is to create a really cool material look, which is kind of like Alcantara. So that is how it's supposed to work, but whether that happens or not, I'm not too sure, because as I said, I have never done this before, but I'm going to give it a go with this piece to start off with, whilst I tell you about today's video sponsor, CarVertical. So CarVertical is the history checker for your car. That is really thick. Now, a CarVertical check is very useful. This is even thicker. CarVertical allows you to check whether your car's been stolen, whether it's had any history of damage, or whether it's had mileage fraud, but it can do so much more than that. Now, when I ran the report on the Jazz, you can see that there was 3 green lights and no amber warning lights, which is good, but it had failed 8 MOTs in the past, which was a little bit worrying. Okay, that is so gloopy. Now, if my Honda Jazz's report had looked like this Aston Martin's report, I definitely would have stayed clear, because as you can see, it has 2 amber warning lights. Now, if we scroll down on this report, we can see pictures of all of the damage this car sustained. And if we scroll down further, we can see that this car was marked as a category B, which is not good. Running a CarVertical report is especially useful when you're buying a car, because you want to make sure that the seller isn't throwing you under the bus with a car that's going to be problematic and expensive. So to check any car with CarVertical, click the link in the description of this video and use the code JACK20 at the checkout for a 20% discount on the price of a CarVertical report. And you never know, you could save yourself a load of time and money. This is actually not looking too bad, to be fair. So do you remember when I said that this could either go really well or really badly? Well, firstly, this is like the messiest job ever. I've got bits on my face and it's everywhere. And secondly, the results aren't that good. If you come down and have a look at this A-pillar, it is so inconsistent. There's like bits where it looks like there's too much flock, bits where it looks like there's not enough. The glue is like too heavy in some places, even though it looked like we were putting it on all at the same thickness. Same goes with this sort of bit which goes around the rear window. Again, it's just inconsistent, doesn't look very good. Ironically enough though, the pit that we did first, this little section here, actually looks all right. I might still use this, I might not, but either way, I think we can consider the flocking a failure. A flocking failure, some might say. But I think what I'm gonna do is just get these interior trim pieces again from the scrapyard, prep them up, and paint them. So let's get on with that. I'm sure some people in the comments can let me know where I went wrong with the flocking, but because I wanted to get this interior looking amazing in this video, I opted to get it all painted. Now, the painting is a much simpler process, and this is something that all of you guys at home could do to your car if you wanted to do it. And essentially all I did here was I didn't even prep the surfaces. I just applied a clear plastic primer layer and then put on some black plastic bumper paint, and it turned out so well, and it wasn't really much effort. So after getting through a fair few rattle cans, all of the interior trim pieces which were grey have now been painted black, and we really have gone to town with all of this stuff. Like even these lights, we've made sure to paint all of the surrounds black, all of the roof handles, the sun visors I think are looking really cool in black. And yeah, we are now at a point where we can start getting all of this stuff and all of this stuff fitted into the Jazz, and there is quite a lot of stuff to sort through, so this might take a while, but let's get started. So after giving the Jazz a good clean with the vacuum cleaner, I could firstly get in the carpet. I then decided to get these two pieces of the rear interior trim in, and I quickly discovered this was a stupid idea because I hadn't yet gotten the headliner, and that needed to go in first. So I was just trying to put the headliner in, and I have noticed that I just completely forgot to change the sunroof cover to black. So to change the color of this, I just painted it in situ and masked up the glass on the sunroof because it seemed like an absolute pain to remove. And surprisingly, this actually did quite a good job. That then allowed me to continue with getting in the headliner. The next thing I could install was the middle rear seat belt, which sits on the roof at the back of the car. I could also get the tailgate trim piece fitted. And then I focused on installing all of the parts which fit into the roof.
But when the homies call, he's out the door saying it's gonna be lit tonight. And now you're stressing, sending out texts without the X like it's a fight. Cause you always start screwing it.
Once that was done, it was then in with the sun visors and the rear view mirror.
Put on them shoes that make your body hella. Let him see that it won't never get better than you. Never could weather the storm that you brew. Baby, you know what I'm saying is true. Man will remember that boy is a fool.
After that was done, I could then move on to fitting all of the side trim pieces. Now, when fitting these, I noticed that this was not painted in black, so I had to quickly paint that, and then I could get it all fitted again.
And I think maybe you should just leave.
You said that you would treat me right, boy. Say you would be right by my side, boy. But tell me where were you tonight?
And then the final trim pieces to fit in were the A-pillars. Well, that was a bit of a shift, but the interior is looking absolutely insane in the Jazz now. We're at a point where absolutely everything has been put back into the interior, except for, obviously, the seats, the rear seats, and the door cards, and the center console. I think that's it. Absolutely everything else is in. It took me ages, a lot longer than I thought it would, but it is looking absolutely insane. All the seat belts, all of the trims, we've got all of the lights in the roof, the handles, all of the side trims down here, the sun visor, the rear view mirror, the lights in the roof. Obviously everything's been dark. I mean, everything in this interior is black. It's like Darth Vader's car from the inside. But now it is time for the fun part, to get all of the Type R themed parts fitted into this interior. So I think the first place we're going to start is fitting this center console. But before getting it in, a lot of you might remember from earlier on in the video, I tried to fix the sunroof and I couldn't fix it. And I have since then tried to do numerous things to get it sorted, like sort relays and switches, and obviously I've changed the motor as you saw, but none of that fixed it. So I have no idea what the problem is, and I didn't want to let that problem stop me from fitting the whole interior because it is very minor and I don't really even use a sunroof. So yeah, with that said, let's get this fitted. So in terms of fitting this console, it is very simple. It's just about wiggling it into place, and then there's 2 screws which hold it in from the back and 2 clips which hold it in from the front. And for those of you wondering, we did have to cut out a fair bit of this center console to make sure the shifter could fit. But with that said, we did manage to keep the charging port in there, and it is fully working and functional. So once the center console was in, we could then get in the rear seats. And then we could get in the front seats. Bro, I can't lie, this looks so good. This is gonna be the best. I genuinely think we've made the best Honda Jazz in the world.
It's insane.
Like, it's the best Honda Jazz in the world, and no one can change my opinion.
Mate, with the door cards.
Oh, bro, this is gonna be next level. Oh, made the armrest. The armrest. No, this is too sick. Oh mate, oh bro, I feel so bougie. It's like I feel like I could be driving like a. That was so worth it. That is actually a game changer. Bro, that is genuinely a game changer. So the final things to get the Type R interior fully installed are all of these door cards. But before we get those fitted, I thought it would be a sick idea to get the audio system in the Jazz completely upgraded. We've got some Audison massively improved speakers from standard. We've also got the Jazz speaker surrounds to help mount them, and some sound deadening material to upgrade sort of the audio quality, I think. Now, this massively upgraded audio system was fully supplied by John Kleis in Reading. These guys are my absolute go-to for anything car security or audio system related. So if any of you want to upgrade your sound system or take preventative security measures, I'll leave a link to them in the description of this video. Now, as for fitting this new audio system, it's pretty simple in concept, but in practice it does take quite a while. The first step is to unplug the standard speaker and then use a pair of snips to chop the wires from the plug. Now, before doing anything else, the next thing I did was to apply all of this sound deadening material to the door. There are two types of sound deadening material I used. Some of it was foam and some of it was aluminium, and both of these two things basically just have sticky backs and you can stick them wherever you like. And the guys at John Kleis told me this is a pretty important step to make the sound quality of the audio system as good as it can be. The next step was to get the speaker screwed into the mounting bracket, and the way to do this is to drill some pilot holes and then self-tap the screws into the mounting bracket. Once that's done, the speaker and the mounting bracket are then sort of one piece. The next step is to strip the two wires that used to go into the grey plug that we removed previously. One of these wires is a positive and the other one is a negative. Now, there are a few methods you can go into to determine which wire is which, but I won't go into that now. But essentially, once I'd stripped both of the wires and I'd figured out which one was the positive and which one was the negative, I could then crimp on these terminals. And then before fitting the speaker, I firstly had to mark out where I wanted to drill the holes to mount it, then I had to drill the holes, and then I could finally fit the speaker by firstly connecting the positive wire to the positive side of the speaker and the negative wire to the negative side of the speaker, and then lastly I could mount it on the door. So that is one door done, and it is looking pretty cool. We've got loads of sound deadening at the front and then a lot more at the back, which is looking very nice. Our foam sound deadening, which is sort of the best stuff, is at the back there behind the speaker, which has now been fitted and connected up. So this should be working. But first, before we give it a test, let's get the other doors done. Right, so as you can see, the whole sound system has now been fitted. We've got the speaker and the sound deadening on this door, it's all connected up as well. And if we come around, we can see that it is all done on this door and this door as well. And we can give it a quick test using some copyright-free music. Sounding pretty good. Massive upgrade from the standard stuff. So much better. So there was only one thing left to do, and that was to fit all of the door cards onto the car, and then, ladies and gentlemen, we were finished, and let me introduce you to the Honda Jazz Type R's interior.
Let me tell him one time, I've been on the grind, this is my prime. Let me tell him one time, I've been on the grind, and this is my prime. Yeah, I'm sorry for the wait. Didn't think I'd come up, y'all just need a little faith. I've been patient, just waiting on the river with an ace. Gotta move real careful, we coming surveying the place. I've been on the grind, feeling real good, yeah, all in my prime. It's about that time, say your goodbyes, cause ain't no match for the way that I grind, yeah, I'm all in my prime.
So we are finally finished fitting the whole interior and the sound system into the Jazz, and it is looking so cool. Let me show you around. So starting with the boots, it is looking a lot darker in here. Obviously, there used to be some grey panels here and the grey headliner. It's now all black. It's looking a lot better. It's matching our black and red theme. If we come into the back, this is my second favourite part of the interior. It is like a limo back here, especially with the tinted window up. It just looks so cool with all of the matching red and the black and the new mats as well, make it look better. It's just looking so cool back here. And my favorite part of the interior is when we come into the front, we've got the Type R badges and this center console. This armrest is so cool. It's going to make long journeys so much more comfortable. It's super rare. It's just, I love this thing so much. And we've got the exposed shifter, which looks nice. And the Type R seats are now matching the red with the rest of the interior, which looks really cool. But I do think we need to do something with this dashboard. I've sort of forgotten about it in this video, and it needs sort of maybe a coat of black paint, maybe some of that red Alcantara up here. But yeah, it is getting there, this car. Now, a few things. I know I said I would show you the wheels and the caliper carriers by the end of this video. They're not done yet, so you're gonna have to wait until the next video. And the sunroof. I know I didn't fix it in this video, but yeah, I don't really know what the problem is. I'm very bad with electronics, so we're gonna have to sort that in the next video as well. And there is also a lot of stuff which I have planned for the next video on this car, the final video on the Jazz, which is gonna make it really cool. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video. Like this video if you have enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.